All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to join me. This is the webinar that everybody's been waiting for. Everywhere we talk to people, hiring and staffing seems to be a big issue, if not the biggest issue that centers are having. So we put together 5 different things on how you can attract and hire high quality staff. We spoke to a few different agencies that staff in some competitive markets like trucking and a few others and took their best practices and what they've seen work in the past that you can apply to your center and finally build out that staff you've been looking for. So let's jump in really quick. I put this presentation together. And slideshow. There we go. So if you don't know already, my name is Forrest Schwartz with Top Line Growth. We are a marketing agency that specializes in helping bowling centers increase their revenue, mainly through food and beverage, open play side, and transitioning to the FEC. So that's who we help. We're putting this together to help all the centers, though. So let's jump in. So the things that we're going to cover is how to reframe your approach to recruiting, so the way you think about it and positioning it, because that's going to affect the resources you dedicate to it, how much time and effort is spent towards it. That's a big piece of it, really critical to get that right. The 3 fundamentals of generating a high quality candidates and how to identify weak spots. So the pieces that you're going to need to get these people to reach out to you, and then finding the holes in your bucket, so to speak. So you might even have people reaching out ready to work for you, but they might not get responded to, or it falls off, or your interview process might not be optimal. We're going to talk about how you can fix those and make sure that you're rock solid for your hiring process. Getting top tier candidates to come to you is a third one. So not just going out and finding them, but attracting good people, because usually the best candidates already have a job. The employees that you want most are not the ones on the couch applying. They already have a job somewhere else, and your goal is to attract them and bring them to your facility. The next one we're going to talk about is multiplying your best employees, how you can take them and work with your favorite staff to get more people just like them. And then the last piece is really critical, is building the perfect job ad. Some different pieces that you'll want to use to get in front of people, get better responses to your ads, and convey information faster so you're not saying the same things over and over again. So that's what we're going to cover today. We'll run through, try not to go too long. It's really valuable information because this is the stuff that people have really been struggling with. Before we move on, just want to say, need your attention. This is going to be a somewhat longer video. Turn off your cell phones, turn off Facebook. Just asking you to really pay attention for the next 15, 20 minutes, because if you are a center and staffing is an issue for you, this is going to be a shorter presentation, but this next half hour or so will change your life. This will make things a lot easier for you if you're just willing to put in a little more time. So if you stay to the end, I'm going to give you some goodies. Here are a few of them. We got the alternate internet marketing checklist for bowling center proprietors. So all the different things that you're going to need to get your internet marketing right. These are all the things that you want to check off. It's going to be email, website, social media, all those different things that you're probably wondering how to do. This will give you a list of all the ones that you want to focus on. The next one is the most commonly searched bowling keywords. I'll give you my top 65 keywords that generate customers totally for free, as well as how to add $20,000 a month in revenue using Google and Facebook. Like I said, we work with So who am I? Why should you listen to me? Really quick, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I've spent 12 years in the sales and marketing space, worked with a few different proprietors over the last 3 years who were successful, and decided to specialize in working with bowling centers. And one of them worked really well. I ended up partnering with one of these clients to open up a new center in West Virginia. So I'm a part owner of a center as well. So I know the space, I know marketing really well, and now I know bowling somewhat as well. So these are a few of the people we've worked with. That's the gentleman that I opened up a center with in West Virginia. Dan Mowry owns a few different centers and businesses as well. So we know what works across all these different centers. We work with a bunch of them. We can see what common threads are, what works. We're talking to them all the time. So we have a pretty good pulse on the industry. So the question is, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing with your center today? And I ask that all the time because that's how I learn what I can help people with most. And it always just seems to be staffing. And my question is why? Why is this so difficult? People talk about people not wanting to work, the great resignation, people just want to sit home and collect unemployment. And while that is true to some degree, there is some of that definitely going on. It's not the full picture, because with the recent shutdowns and the whole 2-year process with that, people decided that they're not willing to settle for jobs that they might have been willing to settle for before. So some of the less desirable jobs, or maybe some of the trade-offs that they were willing to make, they're no longer. And it doesn't just mean that people aren't willing to work. It means that they're working in other places. There's a whole report you can look at, other trickle-down effects, such as people leaving the workforce, and then people move up to take their spot and leave positions at the bottom unfulfilled. So there's a lot to it, but it doesn't mean that you can't fix it. So let's talk about what we can control and what we can fix. So the Great Resignation is what that says. It's a story of supply and demand. Like I said before, there were a lot of people willing to take jobs that they wouldn't be today because the supply was there. Jobs were less plentiful and they needed to work, so they would take any job will do kind of mentality. Whereas now people are a little pickier. They want to work from home. They don't want to go out as much. The service industry has seen one of the biggest impacts from this. So that's all it is. It's a shifting, not necessarily people not working. So we're going to identify some of the ways that we can work with that. So that brings us to the next one, 5 ways to stack the odds in your favor. Those 5 things that I went to, because this is the scene that we have to deal with it. There's nothing that we can't control that piece, but we can control these 5 things to stack the odds in our favor and hire and attract quality staff. So here's the 5 REs, I call them. So they all start with RE. First, reframe your approach. Next, refine your hiring process. 3, reposition your brand. 4, recruit your current staff. 5, revamp your job ads. So if you can do all of these, you're gonna see a major increase in your talent acquisition. But even if you just do one, you'll see a boost. If you can do all, you'll see a night and day difference between the quality and quantity of your staff. So what does reframe your approach mean? The way we look at it is you want to treat your candidates like you would one of your best customers. So when you see one of your best customers walk in your door, like a regular or maybe a great league bowler, you treat them a little bit differently. You treat them really well. You're excited to have them. You're very polite to them, accommodating. If you think about it, these employees are likely to create just as much revenue and profit for you as the customers, if not many times. If you think about a per customer basis, how much profit do you see from one customer over their lifespan? It's going to pale in comparison to an employee. So we need to treat them like that. Not most people treat their employees well, but just keep that in your mind that these employees were worth a lot of money and we need to treat very well. And candidates, mind you. So these candidates are very important. If someone's calling and applying and trying to get in, we want to treat them like a great customer. The next piece is to treat job posts like an important advertisement. A lot of times people will just toss one up on Craigslist or toss it on Facebook, or just copy and paste from an old job description, or just off the fly, hey, we need someone to come in and cook, or a pin chaser. What we're talking about is taking a more fine-tuned approach and saying, if this was a big billboard or a magazine or a Facebook ad, put the same kind of care into these job advertisement or these job posts like you would an advertisement, because you'll see a lot better results, and they are important. So it's worth putting a little bit extra effort in. And then the last piece is just framing it in your business that recruiting is the sales and marketing for your staff. So just how you do sales and marketing for your customers and events or whatever your people you're bringing in, recruiting is the same thing for your staff. So you're selling them on the interview is a sales pitch, not just for them selling themselves to you, but you selling your opportunity to them. And it needs to be treated that way. And recruiting is like the advertising. You know, how you would run an ad to bring a customer in, you're running a job ad to bring a candidate in. So the first thing is just reframing how important this piece is. I think a lot of times people just, toss things up and, hey, I need staff. Okay, press the staff button and they should appear. But we need to take the same care and approach that we do with our sales and marketing. So that's one, reframe your approach. Number 2 is refining your hiring process. So the first piece of this is to fish in better ponds. So I mentioned earlier that you don't want to go after the people sitting on their couch and applying. You want to get after the people working for your competitors or your indirect competitors. If there's a great restaurant in town, you want their best server working for you, not necessarily the person who is being laid off and looking for the next job to meander for a few months before you let them go. So 2 quick stats is that 1 in 4 Americans weren't searching when they found their current job. So that just goes to show 25% of people are willing to switch for an opportunity that they feel is better. So we need to get in front of them. We'll talk a little bit later about job ads, but just because they're not actively hiring doesn't mean that we should be in front of them. So you don't only want to rely on Facebook job ads or Indeed or Craigslist, because those are only going for the people who are looking to apply. We want to get out actively in front of people who may not consciously be looking and show them a better opportunity. So that's the first piece. 80% of job seekers say they use social networks in their job search. So that's Facebook, that's Instagram, Twitter, whatever you're on. They are using these in their job search. So why aren't we there? If we want to get in front of a broader market of people, that's a great place. So that's the first piece, fish in better ponds, look in better places. The next one is more about your process. So follow up quickly and be clear. So usually the biggest thing and the most frustrating piece for a candidate is that they just don't hear back, or they don't hear back quickly, and they just go on to the next position or thought, oh, I never heard back from those guys. They must not want me. But more than likely, it's probably just that you were busy. You couldn't get to them that day, or the person in charge of it couldn't get to the applications or forgot where they were. It's usually not intentional. So having a better, more refined process in this state goes a long way. So we help people build automations where they text them automatically to say, we received your application. We're going to be in touch with you shortly. There's follow-up emails. It should be very rigid, and they should feel like they're connected to you the whole time. Because if not, they'll find somewhere else where they are, and they are getting that attention and speed of response. Like I just said, text messaging is preferred. It's perfect for coordinating those pre-interview communication points and then even post that to stay in touch with them. Text messaging is perfect, and we can help you or show you how to set that up for yourself. To talk about speed again, the average position takes 42 days to fill, but the best candidates, the ones that you want to work for you, they only need 10 days to find a new job. So speed is of the essence. If someone wants to make a change, if they're a good candidate, it won't take them long. So we need to be quick when we get in touch with them. 90% of employers think they do a good job of educating people about the role, but less than 30% of candidates feel this is the case. So what does that mean? That means that employers think that they're doing a job of describing what is in the role and what's included, maybe compensation or responsibilities, but that's not how the candidates perceive it. What we really need to do is be very clear and precise and say, this is what's expected, this is what you can expect for the role. Just be a little bit more clear. A lot of the duties and responsibilities seem to be vague and performing various duties. You want to be a little more clear and tactile for this, paint a picture about what they're going to be doing. So those are the two biggest ones. Follow up quickly and be clear. If you can do that and fix your hiring process, you're going to not lose any candidates that you do get, and you're going to end up getting better candidates through the process because you can catch those ones who are good candidates who don't have to wait, because you might just be missing them right now. They might have applied and you didn't get to them in time. So that's the second one, refining your hiring process. So let's take a break real quick because those are two kind of dense sections. Let's go through takeaways really quick. And so I want this to be somewhat interactive. What are your biggest takeaways so far? So we've gone through 2 of the 5, but I want you to think about what the biggest lessons that you've learned, maybe write it down, jot a note somewhere, email yourself, whatever you have to do just to mentally note, here's what I've learned so far. Let's take it piece by piece. 30 seconds or so to write that down and we'll move on. So what are your biggest takeaways so far and what have you learned? I'll give you a moment. Okay, so now that you have that takeaway, let's talk about the next one, which is repositioning your brand. And when I first started in sales and marketing, I tend to shy away from brand because it was too amorphous and it wasn't like a hard thing that you could go after. It seemed like a place that people could hide and when they weren't producing results. But over time, I've learned that brand is really essential, and it's more so the impression that people have of you rather than the impression you're trying to create. So it's not what you project that you are, it's what people perceive that you are. And so the number one advantage that you can have in your marketplace, attracting high quality employees, is to become the destination company within your market. So if there's 2 bowling centers, or not even a bowling center, because let's be real, if we're talking about a talent market, there's a lot of indirect competitors like restaurants and breweries and even golf courses you're competing with. So if you can be the best place that people want to work because it's fun and it's a good opportunity and they treat their staff and people just want to be there, then you're going to have a line out the door of people who want to come and work for you. If it's a spot where people don't feel important or that they're doing any kind of meaningful work or that it's just a job, they're going to shy away from that and they're going to go to other places first. So the number one thing you can do is rebrand yourself as the place, the cool place, we like to say, to work, so that people will start coming to you. It's creating a fun work environment, which is, like we said, that's what customers are there for. It's free. Make things fun. It doesn't cost you anything. You can do a lot of different small things during the work shift to make it fun and light and a place that people want to be. So a lot of proprietors that I talk to talk about how leadership and a fun work culture are really the biggest 2 pieces for retention. Having a strong general manager leader who people can follow and feel like has their back and is a good person they want to work for, they'll have some loyalty. That mixed with a fun spot, you're going to see a huge increase in retention as well as attracting those customers that you want to have. So that's the third one, is repositioning your brand. The next one is recruiting your current staff. So I have the birds of a feather here. You can clone your top staff by recruiting employees to hire their friends. Take your 3 best employees and say, hey, I want more people like you. This is what I do with my clients. I say, hey, I like working with you. Let's work with more people just like you. Introduce me to one of your friends. You can offer an incentive. You probably want to split that up. You don't want to just pay it when someone shows up for an interview. You can do it a number of different ways. It could probably be an attendance and a tenure criteria. So the example I have is $500 after 3 months and 30 shifts worked. It doesn't really matter the specifics, whatever works for you, but some kind of criteria there where you can say, hey, number one, bring your friend to work with you, which is going to make it more fun environment, going back to the one before it. And number 2, you're going to get paid to do it. So why wouldn't they want to do that? So that's a huge piece you can look at, working with your current employees. Who do you know who's looking for work? And I'll pay you to do it. Easy thing you can do. Just set up what the incentive is and then tell your employees only your favorite ones, but have them find people for you. They'll do a good job of it. So again, let's take a quick break. Action items. Let's get these things going. Let's not just learn things. Let's actually come up with some ideas of how we're going to put it into action and how we're going to actually make these things happen. So how are you going to implement? What can you do to make your brand more attractive? We talked about rebranding. And then what's your incentive going to be? So take 30 seconds, a minute, and just jot down the first things that come to mind. How are you going to implement these last 2? So what do you do to make your brand more attractive? How can you be the cool place to work and make it more fun? And then what incentive are you going to offer your staff for referring you a super high quality employee. Take a few minutes to go over that and make a plan of how you're going to put it into action. Okay, so you got that in place. Let's go to the last one, the job ads. I pulled this from, like I said, an agency who does this because they, have job ads that they spend hundreds of thousands behind to get these candidates. I wanted to pull their proven and tested ad that you can pull their winning pieces from it. So we'll go over a few of those, but that's why we have a truck here, is because this ad has hired hundreds, if not thousands, of truck drivers in a pretty competitive niche. So the first step that you need to do for your job ads is to stop them from scrolling. This is mainly for putting it in social. We talked about why social is a good place to put jobs, because people aren't necessarily looking, but you can get in front of people who would be a good match, and people are looking there anyway. So it's a good place to go out and get in front of eyeballs at a pretty discount rate compared to other methods. So your first goal on here is to stop them from scrolling. So they're scrolling through, you need to get their attention. That's what the images of the 67 cents or the emojis, these different things, catch them and get them to stop and actually read it. The biggest piece that you can take from this is those visual elements. So if you have a video, that's going to be your best bet. If you don't have a video, you can use an image, whatever you can do, some visual elements in there to get them to stop and read your ad. That's step one. Can't go any further without that. The next one is to list the salary ranges or compensation. People a lot of times are hesitant to put it. They don't want to put it, or they want to say, oh, it depends on experience. But think of it from the candidate's perspective. If you have a bunch of different options and one of them doesn't tell you how much you're going to get, why even take the risk that it's not going to be enough for or something that you're interested in? You just keep going on. I'm not even going to bother. So 75% more clicks on job ads with compensation than without. So just put it on there. You can say that you can put a range there, but don't just say it depends. Put it out there. Let people know what they're going to get paid. They're going to ask anyway. It's not like you're going to hide it from them. So the next one is that Indeed and Facebook make up about 90% of the applications for most of these agencies or recruiting agencies. So that's where you should be. I think Facebook even more so for the service industry, probably more so on the trucking side, but Facebook is the place. That includes Instagram too, but that's where you're going to get in front of these people. You can put money behind it. You can really target who you're going after. There's a little bit restriction on the targeting from the job perspective because of some equal employment laws when they got sued, but there is some things you can still do. You can really get in front of a lot more people than Indeed, because Indeed is only people applying, whereas Facebook is everyone and their brothers on Facebook. So that's probably going to be your best spot, depending on the position in your market and how competitive it is. Somewhere from $5 to $10 a day is going to be plenty. You can do less if you can just knock out a bunch of applicants right off the bat and then process those and then go on. You don't have to spend the money for the whole month. The way that Facebook's algorithm goes, they tend to prioritize some of the bigger spends. So if you just did $1 a day, you're not going to get as much into the queue, into the inventory as it's called, as you would if you were spending 5 to 10 a day. So instead of spending $1 for 10 days, $10 for one day, and you'll get better results. It's the same money. So that's about where you want to be as far as budget. For the job posting details, keep it to 200 words, because people don't want to read a book when they're applying. They're probably going through 50 different job posts. They have to read a huge long pamphlet for each one. They're never going to make any headway. So make it quick. You see here, like this is pretty much everything here. Attention, OTR, dry van drivers, a couple different perks right at the top. Remember, these are advertisements. You're selling that position to someone. So they aren't expecting to apply. They might just be on looking at Facebook because they're bored. And they might be at work bored looking at Facebook. This is your opportunity to sell why they should work for you. So like they have guaranteed weekly pay. You could have free bowling. You could have discounts on meals or whatever you offer for your employee. You want to put in here and sell it. Like I said, advertisement. This is you marketing to your potential employees to try to sell them on your opportunity. So that's what you want to fill it out. But 200 words is all you need, and only really the requirement, the basic items enough, like I said, to convince them to apply. So you don't need to go into who reports to who, and here's the meetings we have every week, and here's the times we're open. Don't worry about that. Just get them enough to come in and interview, and then you can sort the details out later. So continuing on here, I just talked about this a little bit, but this is taking it to the next step, is you are selling that role. This is sales and marketing for your staff. So how are you going to convince them to take your position versus someone else? Maybe in the past, it was a little bit less competitive and you could get people and while doing less. But with the Great Resignation, it's just like I said, supply and demand. You got to up your game now. You got to sell your position over somebody else's position and beat out your competitors. So one of the easy ways to do that is with titles. It's free to you. It doesn't matter to you. It's the same thing. An ambassador sounds a lot better than an associate. So come up with nice titles. Come up with something that sounds a little bit fancier, a little bit more important. And that could be all it takes to push someone over if they want to go to a party and say, yeah, I'm an ambassador at this place versus, yeah, I'm just an associate. think about it. A lot of the posts look exactly the same, so you need to differentiate yours. That's where the emojis come in, just the brief style, the perks are going to be in there. You just got to stand out from all these other players. It's a competitive market, and just a few different tweaks is all it takes to make you stand out from everyone else. Put a little bit of effort into the job posts. Like I said, think of it as a high-priced advertisement and put in the same kind of care you would if you were signing on for a 6-month contract for Billboard. Another piece you can do is to allure some candidates is the growth opportunities available. So let them know that, hey, this might be where you're starting, but there's room to grow up and you can do better in the long run. If you stick with us, there is room to grow here. We're here for you for the long run, not just a summer job. You can just say it easily plus growth ops, but stick that in there if it's available. But that's a nice little attractor you can use. If you pay anything better than your competitors or top pay, full benefits, every center depends. But if you have any kind of better pay or any other benefits that are better, mention that. Throw that out there. Again, if there's anything that you're gonna take away from this presentation, is that you are selling someone else to come and work for you. And that's how you need to approach it. So anything you can do to include in there is going to help you in the long run, because you're going to get those premium candidates and to come up with a super high quality staff. So just to recap, how to build great job ads. Attention grabbing headline. So you got to stop the scroll, get them to look. You want to have a little short description briefly about what the job is, who you are, anything you can do there, but one sentence most. And then your selling points. So the pay, the benefits, perks, fun work environment is a perk. It doesn't have to just be compensation related, but it could be fun, laid back environment in a fun atmosphere. Go to work at a bowling center. That's fun. Whatever you could put in there, selling points. It doesn't just have to be compensation. Quick blurb about the requirements that they need, just to weed out anyone who can't meet those. And then use emojis to make it more fun, light, and get their attention because nobody else is doing it. And then images, or even better, video, because that's going to stand out. So if you have all of these in your job ads, you're going to see significantly higher response rates and have more high quality staff in your queue. So last one, let's take a break really quick, or at least a pause, and think about how you're going to implement these. How are you going to improve your job ads? What are the things that you're going to put in there to sell someone on your position? How are you going to stand out? How are you going to be a better position than your competitors? The way I like to do that, I just ask myself, why would someone take this position? That should answer most of those questions, is why would anyone want this job? So write out all the answers to that, and then use that to create and write your new job ad. So take a minute, come up with 4 or 5 bullet points about why someone would want to take this job over the other 100 jobs that are in their area that people are trying to hire for. Why should they take yours over a different one? So take a moment, write that out. This is really important. So just take 30 seconds to a minute to come up with 4 or 5 things. Okay. Now that you got that, you're on your way. And so as promised, here are your goodies. If you just head to toplinegrowth.pro/reward, I'm going to give you all of these, your ultimate internet marketing checklist for bowling center proprietors, everything you need to do your internet marketing and to crush it in the digital space, where we all know is the most important spot today. Included in that, I'll give you your most commonly searched bowling keywords for both SEO and pay-per-click. So if people are typing it into Google, this is what you want to rank for. It's things from birthday parties to bars, restaurants, anything that is getting a lot of search results and turning into customers. We have it in there, the top 65. And the last is our full guide that I put together. It's part case study, part guide on how we have added $20,000 a month in revenue using Google and Facebook for bowling centers. So if you get this piece right, you can expect to increase, maybe not 20, but if you do it half as right, still 10,000 is awesome. 120 grand a year just by implementing a couple different things with Google and Facebook. That's where everybody is today. All you're trying to do is get them off the platform and focus on you and inside your center. So I have a whole guide on how we did that, yours for free, toplinegrowth.pro/reward. So to close out, thanks for watching. If you want help putting these into practice, recruiting, getting high quality staff, or using Google and Facebook to grow your business and your revenue, then let's talk. This is my cell phone, 717-961-1298. You can also head to toplinegrowth.pro/schedule, and I'd be happy to consult with you. There's no obligation. I'll tell you what I think we can do to improve, or to improve your center and capture that growth that you're looking for. So head there and look forward to talking to you. Thanks for watching.